Welcome back everyone to Racing Reviews for your practice report here in Bahrain for the Formula 1 2020 Sakhir Grand Prix. As always, if you are new and you don't know what we do in these practice reviews, we go through today's times FP1 and FP2 this evening, take a little look at which teams are looking in good shape potentially for the victory, maybe even sneak a podium or two, which teams aren't looking so great, all of today's main topics and events, and we'll take a look at this weekend's predictions. So as always, feel free to subscribe, I hope you enjoy, but we'll start off by taking a look at your times from FP1 and FP2. And in the night sky of Bahrain, the stars are beginning to align for George Russell. His first session for Mercedes, P1, Max Verstappen in the Red Bull, just 1/10 behind in P2, Alex Albon rounding out the top three. Valtteri Bottas struggling this morning, and actually, as we'll see later on, struggling this afternoon as well, so especially into turn 1, which is quite peculiar considering we are using the same circuit, Sector 1 and Sector 3, as last time out in Bahrain. Sector 2, that's where it's all changed. Practically, it doesn't really exist, meaning we've got a very square-shaped circuit, lap times, the quickest ever in Formula 1 history. A very, very interesting Grand Prix ahead of us. After Valtteri Bottas, the two AlphaTauris, 5th and 6th, they're looking very strong this weekend. Ocon in front of Vettel, Ricciardo and Charles Leclerc, your top 10. Lance Stroll was ahead of teammate Sergio Perez in the morning session, both of them on the soft tyres, all of the top 10 also on the soft compound tyres. Carlos Sainz 13th, the two Alfa Romeos 14th and 15th. Norris struggled in the morning, and like Bottas, didn't really get any representative laps in the afternoon, but Norris's car was plagued with little issues throughout the day. Magnussen 17th, Latifi on the medium compound tyres 18th, and the two debutants Fittipaldi for Haas and Aitken for Williams, P19 and P20. Moving on over to FP2, the session which really counts, the session where we can really start to understand who's looking great on quali runs, race runs. FP1, it's more about getting used to the circuit, and practice 3 on Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon here in the UK, that's more about just getting the car set up for quali and then trying to build yourself into the rest of the weekend. So FP2, the one that really counts, once again, George Russell P1. Doesn't tell the whole story, as we'll see in a moment's time, but he's looking good for a really strong weekend. Definitely settling in very nicely in that Mercedes car. Verstappen once again P2, Sergio Perez P3, Racing Point getting back a little bit of form in the afternoon session. Ocon continued his strong form this weekend P4, Albon a little bit further behind Max Verstappen in the afternoon P5, Danny Kvyat 6th, Lance Stroll P7, Ricciardo, Gasly and Carlos Sainz your top 10. Valtteri Bottas was P11, however his quickest time on the hard compound tyres, just 1.1 off George Russell's best time. So Bottas did struggle once again in the afternoon, plenty of lockups, even an off-track excursion in Sector 2, still looking okay, and certainly is going to be the one to beat in qualifying. Raikkonen was ahead of teammate Giovinazzi in 12th and 13th, Magnussen 14th, Latifi 15th, Nicholas Latifi doing a very solid job this afternoon, Vettel, who had a spin right at the start of FP2, was 16th, Norris, who had those issues a little bit earlier on, is 17th. The two debutants once again at the back, bless them. Fittipaldi 18th, Aitken 19th, and poor Charles Leclerc. No lap time set, more issues at Ferrari in 2020, and he rounded out your top 20. Before we jump in to our analysis of today's session, this is how I feel the running order is looking after today's two sessions. Of course, like it always is in 2020, Mercedes are the team to beat, but certainly partly due to the fact the lap is only 54 seconds, but also due to the fact about 75% of the lap is full throttle, it's going to be much, much closer. And Red Bull, though they're in that second spot that we've seen all year long, certainly could spring a surprise. I've put Renault in third, just ahead of AlphaTauri, just ahead of Racing Point, but like we always say in 2020, all of those three teams very much interchangeable. McLaren seem a little bit further back at the moment. Of course, Norris with those issues, we didn't really see any representative laps, and Carlos Sainz in the afternoon wasn't that far behind, so certainly they're not out of the mix. Ferrari, on the other hand, a little bit further back. 7th I've put them in for the pecking order. Qualifying and the races is kind of an average, it's all a guess really. Ferrari in their quali runs looked okay, race runs looked okay, but certainly looked at the back of that midfield this weekend, which is where they expected to be, considering it's a very power limited circuit. Hence Alfa Romeo 8th, Haas 9th, and I think Williams are the team at the back of the grid. It's very hard to tell between Haas and Williams. We can only judge it on the pace of K-Mag and Latifi, and at the moment, Magnussen seems to have the edge. And whilst we're on the topic of Kevin Magnussen, I was a very lucky man yesterday to have the opportunity to sit down with both Kevin Magnussen and Pietro Fittipaldi to get some of their thoughts into this weekend's Grand Prix. I wasn't able to record it, which I'm so gutted about, but I at least thought I'll just spend 2 minutes just relaying some of the information I was able to get from the guys. And also, I need to give you all a massive thank you. It was just such an incredible experience to be able to talk to Formula One driving, and it's something I would never in a million years have expected to happen. And it's all thanks to you lot. The support you've been giving the channel over the 3 seasons we've been doing it now. It's just madness. And I know we're going through a bit of a rebrand at the moment into racing reviews. But yeah, just a quick thank you to all of you. You are all absolute legends. But the main thing from Kevin Pietro yesterday was blue flags, funnily enough, and what they were pointing out is how difficult this circuit was going to be, despite the fact that it looks very straightforward on paper, and Sector 1 and Sector 3 are identical to what we had here last weekend. The fact that Sector 2 is a couple of quick left rights and then we're straight into Sector 3, the fact that the lap time is only 54 seconds, back markers are very much going to be in the way, and that's going to have a huge implication across the weekend. Qualifying, finding a gap, but also getting a nice little slipstream is going to be a very difficult thing to do. We saw it in Formula 2 earlier on today. In the Grand Prix, for drivers, first of all, back markers, they're going to constantly pretty much have blue flags. All cars are going to be so close to each other at all times. They're even thinking there may even be a collision or two with a couple of back markers. Certainly, if they're fighting, maybe a Haas and a Williams are fighting, and then, I don't know, Mercedes is trying to come through. They're very worried about that. Also, something Magnussen was really trying to think about was strategy. And whereas teams last weekend were going for 2 and 3 stops, because the track is going to be so congested, finding a gap to come out in clean air is going to be almost impossible. So, without giving too much away, he was kind of hinting that a 1 stop may be the route that many of these teams are going down, and I think that is why Valtteri Bottas this afternoon ran on those hard tyres, getting the data for the team, and I think the overall feeling from that interview was that both Magnussen and Fittipaldi were so excited for this race. And again, thank you guys, and also a massive thank you to Haas F1 for sorting that all out very last minute. And hopefully next time we can sort something out and get it recorded for you all. But before we go, yesterday I gave you this grid to give me your predictions for this weekend's Grand Prix. Who's going to be pole, front row and biggest shock in qualifying and in the race? Your winner, podium, first retirement, driver of the day and best of the rest. Our runner-up this weekend is ABC, who has gone with Bottas pole, George Russell on the front row, with Nicholas Latifi, the biggest shock, getting into Q3. And actually, I would love to see Latifi have a big weekend this time, maybe even points. I think he would really deserve that. Bottas for the race win, Russell to get his first podium with Verstappen alongside, Ricciardo first retirement, Russell driver of the day, and Sergio Perez best of the rest. And your winner, Nathan Adeboye. I always knew it was going to be a popular vote, this one, and it certainly proved it. Bottas pole, Russell front row, Jack Aitken to beat Nicholas Latifi as the biggest shock. But in the Grand Prix, what we would all love to see this weekend, except Valtteri Bottas fans, is a George Russell victory, and that's what he's gone with. Verstappen P2, Sergio Perez P3, Danny Kvyat to be first retirement, Russell driver of the day in his first victory, and Lando Norris best of the rest. And that is it here in Sakhir for your practice reports for the 2020 Sakhir Grand Prix. I cannot wait for this one, guys. It's going to be madness. Qualifying is going to be all over the place. The race, it's going to be bonkers. Awesome. Thank you all very much for watching. Subscribe if you are new. Racing reviews. The rebrand is going to continue over this weekend, so expect a different logo, and of course the name will slightly change as well. So thumbnails will be as they are. You all know the drill by now. Thank you guys. Enjoy the weekend, and I hope to see you all in the next one.